So Mario Maker 2 has been out for over 2 weeks now. I've got the game, you've got the game, we ain't here to argue that Mario Maker 2 isn't fun. In fact, making and playing levels has been the most fun I've had on my Switch in a while. Look, if you don't have the game yet, just get it, okay? You'll have a blast playing it. Today I'm looking at this game through the eyes of an original Mario Maker fan, and I'm asking myself, if Mario Maker 2 is truly the vision I had for the perfect Mario making sequel. I've experienced many ups and downs with Mario Maker 2, so let's get talking about it. Hello everybody, my name is Skullkid, and today we're going to be talking about a bit of my thoughts on Super Mario Maker 2 after having played the game for over like 40 hours at this point. Now this is kind of the follow-up to the hopes and concerns video I did before the release of Mario Maker back in April. It's kind of a retrospective of what I said now that I've actually played the game, so if you haven't seen this video, I definitely recommend that you do before watching this one, but of course it's not technically essential to understanding this video. So today I'd like to focus on the things that Mario Maker 2 has done well, and also the questionable design choices that maybe Nintendo has made and that I believe has made the game suffer. And since Nintendo did a good job updating the original game with new elements and little tweaks to make the game even better, I'd like to use this video more as a way to bring solutions to the tables, things Nintendo could potentially do in future updates rather than just use it to complain about its problems. Now, right before we get started with the video, if you're new to the channel and you're into gaming discussion videos like this one, I've been doing monthly discussion videos for a while now, so if you're interested in that, or a bunch of other gaming videos like unboxings, indie game showcases, or even my gameplay of Mario Maker 2, and much more, consider checking out the channel and subscribe to be part of this small, lovely gaming community. There was a time where making the Mario Maker courses of your dreams only seemed like a childhood fantasy, but one day appears out of nowhere the Wii U. It released with the game we had all been waiting for, Nintendo Land. No, but in all seriousness, in the last breath of hope of the Wii U, in late 2015, Super Mario Maker was put into the world to revive the kid inside us all. Now, what made the original Mario Maker so special was the sense of exploration and the infinite possibilities it gave us. It also finally felt like the game that justified and gave a purpose to the Wii U hardware. Perfectly crafted for the gamepad's touchscreen, mixed with TV play, it was perfectly intuitive and simple to use, it had a great workflow and a bunch of weird charm that made it completely unique and memorable. But this time with Mario Maker 2, we knew what to expect. The magic had worn off and us creators wanted an interface even more robust than before, and new features that would spur our infinite creativity. How would Nintendo wow us a second time? Oh, but it seemed only time could tell. Oh, sorry there, I was just, lost in the great tale of the rise of Mario Maker. So, we've finally got our hands on Super Mario Maker 2. I really got to play it a lot. This past week I've been doing some live streams, and I got to play a bunch of your awesome levels. And I gotta say, maybe you guys just make great levels, but I really enjoyed the playing aspect a lot more than in Mario Maker 1. People seem already much better at making levels. It's really a sheer contrast to how I felt with the levels I saw in Mario Maker 1. Now, not only did I play some really great levels, but I also really got to get into the building aspect of it all. Of course, lots of the concerns I had back in April were to talk about the building. I mean, it is the glue that holds up the Mario Maker experience as a whole. So, after having started to build many level ideas and really messing around with all the features we have available to us, how does the building feel? And I'm gonna start with handheld building, because really docked and handheld feel very distinct. So, handheld building is more of the same. Really, if you come from the Wii U, the controls are pretty much identical, and it just feels good. The only complaint, though, is that the menu bars feel like they take up way too much space. You have to get really close to them for them to move out of the way, and that's really annoying. Another minor issue I've had is I have a screen protector, and when I use my stylus, sometimes it unregisters what I'm doing and really messes it up. I didn't really have that problem on the Wii U, even though there was a screen protector there. So, little annoyances. It's not exactly as great as the Wii U building, but it's very goddamn close. If you liked it on the Wii U, you'll definitely like it here. I think it's fine. Now, for us fellow YouTubers especially who record footage, docked mode might be our only solution or our preferred solution. Depends on how you'll get used to these controls, because there is a lot of getting used to. These aren't necessarily intuitive controls. A lot of reviews were complaining about these docked controls, and I feel like a lot of these come from the fact that they're not intuitive at first. There might be lots of initial discouragement, and that's kind of upsetting because I feel like it might scare people from level building altogether. The good news, though, is these controls do start to make sense when you get used to them, and then you can be fairly fast, and it all kind of works well. It isn't as bad as I thought originally in my concerns video. Now, there are of course still some annoyances that don't feel quite optimal, and these are things that I would hope maybe we'll see in future updates. Most of these suggestions come from the internet, people who have spent even more time than me on these tools. But one big issue is when you're filling up a lot of ground, especially if you're building it with a controller, there's no autofill feature. If you have a lot of ground to place, it would be nice if you could just do the outline, and if you need to fill in that big chunk of ground, you can click something and it just fills in all the interior. Would save a lot of time, especially when you're slowly dragging that cursor in docked mode. One thing that has personally really annoyed me is that the cursor is one speed only, and that speed is pretty slow, and yes, you can press Y to make it move faster, but I'm talking it would be nice if you could half tilt, progressive analog movements on the joystick so that it would be progressively slower and faster depending how precise you need to be at that very moment. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to use the same speed to draw a line of blocks than you do to place one enemy at a precise location. Now, another thing that would be useful is to assign different buttons to the multi-grab and copy. It was like that on the Wii U, but now you have to toggle from one another, and that gets kinda confusing. It's hard to get used to even after playing it for a long time. Also, the fact that you have to toggle between the menu bar and the cursor is really annoying. It's not hard to get into the menu bars, but it's hard to get out of them. And especially trying to find the right place on the menu, say you're on the right bar and you need to go on the left bar, that isn't always obvious, and I wish it was more straightforward. One suggestion that I saw comes from Andre from GameXplain, and he suggested something that I think makes a lot of sense, and he says that if we had the L stick, always control the cursor, and the right stick for the camera only, it would be much better. If you check both sticks on the game right now, they do the exact same thing, they both function as cursors. Also, if the D-pad was exclusively used for menu bars, so you could use your menu bars and the cursor at the same time, I think these are all nice little changes that make sense, and I know this isn't really a Nintendo thing to do, but for such a complex tool, I feel like in future updates we should have multiple control schemes and you could select them in options. Now, of course, this is a very power user feature, but I'm really hoping that we'll see it in future updates. So I've talked a bit about a couple minor tweaks, but overall, the building is pretty good. As with my initial concerns, it'll never be as good as the original due to the different hardware, but it isn't excessively frustrating, and honestly it's still very viable and fun to use. Now, I've been building some cool level ideas pretty intensely for the past couple of days, and while I've been really appreciating the new quality of life features like custom camera controls and scroll stop, I've also started to realize the limitations they pose. For starters, you can't have a vertical main area, and really this limits any vertical level to only having one area of space to really build upon. So if you really want to go vertical like me, who's currently building a little Bowser Jr. tower, kind of inspired from the DS games, you can't quite do it with as much space as you potentially could have. Another issue I've had is there's no vertical custom camera, and while that might not seem super useful for most users, it just seems like, hey, it's already there for horizontal, why don't you at least give us the choice to make one for vertical? It doesn't add much, but I've had some issues with my levels with that, and I kinda wish that we could do it nonetheless. Finally, scroll stop isn't exactly how I was hoping it would work. To stop scroll stop on a horizontal level, you actually have to go through the full level with an uninterrupted line, and so that doesn't quite work as well for bonus rooms, where you just want to have this one room never move out of the camera. The way I thought it would work when they first announced it, and the way I want them to add as a third way to do scroll stop, would be if you fully circle the dimensions of the screen, so like the exact screen size as a rectangle, I would like it that it does a scroll stop for that room. I think that would work pretty well, and it's fairly easy to implement. Just do it, Nintendo. It's a little sad that they didn't go the extra mile for these features, so I'm really hoping to see improvements in future updates. Okay, enough complaining. I said this game was fun, right? Well, let's prove it. Out of my hopes, here are some of the best additions we got. Back in April, I sent a call asking Nintendo to give us some more clear conditions, or back in the day I called them win states, and we got a lot of those, and they are so useful. You can make really creative levels. One of my favorites is the don't touch the ground until you get to the flag one. I have actually really been hating it when I find levels where I need to play it because it's really hard, but there are so many creative conditions that can allow you to do so many creative levels. They honestly went above and beyond what I was expecting for this feature, and I'm really happy about that. Lots of creative things have come out of it. As I was hoping for, we also got more boss enemies. Maybe not as many as we could have, but our variety has definitely expanded exponentially compared to what we could do with just Bowser and Bowser Jr. back in the day. Finally, one thing we didn't get, I'm a bit sad, but I was never actually really expecting this, is like level playlists, or like worlds as I called them, so we can't still do our own campaigns, but in the spirit of Mario Maker, it's probably for the best. Overall though, it's nice to see that a lot of additions to Mario Maker 2 were made based on fan feedback, and that's why I'm still stunned at some of the seemingly incomprehensible decisions Nintendo has made for the sequel. Aside from the removal of almost all the fun little Easter eggs that made Mario Maker so memorable, the biggest letdown for me was the removal of amiibo costumes. Amiibo costumes really allowed us to make thematic levels. It was what gave the motivation to people to make Zelda dungeons and Metroidvania-style levels. The other thing it did was really it gave a sense of uniqueness, and it really made the original Super Mario Bros. Template stand out. It's really sad to see this go away because this was the source of so much creativity in the first game. If I had to guess why Nintendo removed them though, it's probably because of the multiplayer and how they thought it would get too confusing with all these players, but really, maybe they should have just set it that costumes are switched to random when there are multiple players, so everyone would get a different costume. I don't know, I just feel like they got scared because of the multiplayer when really they could have thought of a clever solution to work around this. I've seen other people justify it by saying that, oh, it was probably too much work to put all these amiibo costumes, but really, most of these amiibo costumes are already made. Maybe since Mario Maker 1, there have maybe been like 15 new amiibos, so we're not talking about a whole lot here. These amiibo costumes, though, would be great material for future updates, maybe giving us weekly new costumes through levels or like through some weird way. It would be so cool and such nice update material that would be fairly easy to release. Now let's get to one of the for some, potentially most problematic addition, and that is the online multiplayer. Now, I got to play it a little, I didn't play it that much, but from what I had, it's actually a really fun addition. Excluding the connectivity of it all, the multiplayer matches themselves are very well executed, you can chat with little text bubbles and that works fine, and when you're in the co-op you can decide which player to spawn back at, it works really well. But when it comes to connectivity, it isn't great. Now, I know others have had it much worse than me, but for me, 1 out of 2 matches was good for me, with minimal lag, totally playable, and I had a blast playing with the people I met. The other matches, of course, were completely horrible. All those horror stories where, it takes like 2 minutes for the 3-second timer to start at the beginning. Honestly, I don't get how a company as big as Nintendo can still screw up online in 2019. The other big mistake they had is that you can't play with your friends online right now. Like, you can do that in NES Online, for crying out loud. Not only to mention that, but do they not realize it would have been a great game seller? I have some friends who aren't in the making, but playing with friends would actually make them buy this game. This should have been here from the beginning. I honestly don't get some of the choices that were made with this game. The worst part of all of this is Nintendo has done online correctly in the past. When I play Splatoon 2, I almost never have any connection issues. And in Splatoon, you can make friend lobbies, and that works fine, honestly. Why could Nintendo get it right there, but not for Mario Maker, not for Smash Bros, and the list goes on. Also, why is Lengthy Mario gone? You could use him to make amazing platforming levels, and I just want Lengthy Mario back! Now, I know when it comes to these videos, it seems like the game is full of flaws, but trust me when I tell you, I love Super Mario Maker 2. If you watched the live streams I did last week, you'll know how much I've been loving the game so far. In fact, if I made a video about the little things I've been enjoying in the game, this video wouldn't even be near completion. I didn't really talk about story mode and a bunch of things in this video, but I can tell you story mode is great. It's pretty much what you'd expect though, just kind of a little goal to motivate you through going a list of levels, so that's why I didn't talk about it too much, but it helped me a lot with building inspiration and learning the mechanics of the new items we have now. I really had lots of fun with it, so if you didn't check out story mode yet, definitely do. It's definitely worth your time. I'm also loving the 3D world style. I didn't actually think that much of it when we first learnt about the game, but really the style has a great unique feel that's really fun to play. It has this motion, and the clear pipes and things like that really do make it unique. It's a little limited in building because there are less items, but once you know how to fully use what you have there, you can really make great unique things that you just can't make in the other styles. Look, what I'm trying to say here is there's no doubt that Mario Maker 2 is a great game. I went from someone who would have bet cash that Mario Maker would never come to the Switch, to someone who won't even remember in a month what life was like before he got his daily dose of Mario Maker joy. Back when we were still unsure of how Mario Maker would shape up, and I was still worried that the Switch hardware just wouldn't cut it, I shared some of my hopes. Ideas I had thought necessary to prevent the potential train wreck that could have been Mario Maker 2. In the end, not all of these hopes of mine were realized. While it seemed they could have done more, and some dumb decisions were made, Mario Maker 2, in its current state, is still pretty amazing, and it's for sure the most fun I've had on my Switch in a while. So now it's your turn. I want to know how you've been enjoying Mario Maker so far. Also, if you're a level creator, stay close to my Twitter because I'll be tweeting out in the next couple weeks to play your levels on future episodes of my Mario Maker Let's Play. And if you're looking for a fun traditional Mario level inspired by Super Mario Bros. 3, feel free to check out my own level, which I'm putting right here on screen. I'll be making more similar levels in the future, so consider following my Maker ID for that. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this month's discussion video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a like, it always helps me out. And don't forget to share this video with your friend who still doesn't have Mario Maker 2. If you're new here, I'd love to have you around, so consider subscribing to Skullkid Gaming for more on Mario Maker 2 and all things gaming. Also, don't forget to check those videos right there on the side, I'm sure you'll love them. But with that said guys, have a great day, and I hope to see you in the next video.